Okay, so the verse here that I'm going to start with, that I'm going to kind of base my little talk around, is Isaiah chapter 55, verses 10 and 11. For as the rain and the snow come down from heaven and do not return there, but water the earth, making it bring forth and sprout, giving seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goes out from my mouth. It shall not return to me empty, but it shall accomplish that which I purpose, and shall succeed in the thing for which I sent it. Um, the kind of talk I'm going to be doing here is going to be something that you think would be more of an AA meeting or an NA meeting or something along that line. Um, it's really just kind of more of where I've been in my life. But so I grew up in Northampton, Pennsylvania. Um, I grew up in a Lutheran church. Um, Sundays were kind of the thing to do. That's what we did. We just did church, and um, you know, we had our social club kind of thing. But there is something to be said about the social club. My mom still has dear friends that have been at that church for eons, and they're still great friends to this day. So there is something to be said about the social club relationship kind of thing because there were some deep friendships. Um, while I can't really say that um, I was taught to have a personal relationship with Jesus and with God, um, it was something that we did. As I said, we went every Sunday. I did all the things you had to do. Um, you know, I had my first communion in fifth grade. I was confirmed in ninth grade. Went through the confirmation class for 3 years, and then that was that. So when I was in 10th grade, I went to a youth conference in out at Purdue University um, for Lutheran youth. I don't remember much about it. uh, I think I went just for a vacation. It wasn't really to learn anything really, but there's things that I've taken away from that trip. Um, that obviously meant something to me back then. But the reason I use the Isaiah 55, 10 and 11 verse is when you're in a Lutheran church, they do a thing called the liturgy. Okay. And there's one particular part of the liturgy that is called the confession of sins. Now, in that confession of sins, the pastor, the minister, right before he asks us to kneel, and then there's a response that we give, um, basically says this: if we say we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. But God, who is faithful and just, will forgive our sins and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. And then we kneel, and there was a response we give to that. Who knew? I didn't. When I was going through Lutheran Church, I didn't know that was First John chapter 1, verses 9. I didn't know that, but it stuck with me. But it became something that you said every Sunday. So it just was kind of a rote rehearsal kind of thing. I don't know. It just kept, you said the same thing every week. So it wasn't really, I don't know, the meaning of it really never sunk in. At the end of the service, you usually had a benediction. And typically the benediction was, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord look upon you with favor and give you peace. Numbers 6:24 through 26. I didn't know that. Didn't know that, I think, until mid 2000s. you know, there was a song we would sing during the service. I think it was usually came in around communion time, where it talks about create in me a clean heart. A verse used in Psalms. didn't know that. You know, it wasn't something that was taught to me. Um, I can honestly say that one of the earliest prayers that I can honestly remember as a young child growing up came from an 8 track that we had. And it started off something like this: Lord, my soul is ripped with riot, incited by my wicked diet. We are what we eat, said a wise old man. Lord, if that's true, I'm a garbage can. Yeah. So there you go. Then it just kind of went on from there, and it just, it's just kind of silly. Um, but I was also taught all the Bible stories. You know, um, I heard about David and Goliath. I heard about Jonah and the whale and Daniel and the lion's den. We probably made little art things that corresponded with each of those stories. We probably, we probably did through all that, but it was just never done in a way that it sunk into me. Um, my parents were hardworking parents. My dad was uh, always was a hard worker. Growing up in that part of Pennsylvania, you have a lot of blue collar, hardworking kind of people. If they were working in the coal mines, they were working in the steel, they were working in cement, zinc. We just had all kinds of those kind of industries up there. So that was where people worked, and so we had a lot of hardworking people up there. Um, so but we never really did Bible study at home. That was never something that was really instilled in us. Um, I have an older brother and sister, so music became a huge part of my life. Um, and not all of it very good sometimes. Um, but I just remember being bullied a lot because I was a little different. I was a husky kid. Um, I was a curious kid at times. Not a good thing. Um, but I usually found my solace from the teasing from music. Um, Professional wrestling was another thing I got into. I used to like to throw a tennis ball against the back of the wall at the house. We had like a stone house where I could do that. So, I did that kind of stuff. I just kept to myself. Because going to school was just not a good thing. And the church was a good thing, but I mean, it just just I was just a different kid, you know. Um, as life would go on, there would be other times I had a reason to crack open a Bible. One reference, just so I knew what the reference was, one that comes to mind is Isaiah 53:5. For any of us music fans, we know what that verse gets associated with. Um, by his stripes we are healed. So, if anybody's heard the band Striper, there you go. Um, there was a song that I had heard that made reference to Sodom and Gomorrah, and someone that I was my first girlfriend that I was really seriously involved with at the time, and this was like when I was like 16. She said, "Yeah, that's a story in Genesis." Oh, okay. So I look it up and I'm like, oh, there it is. Yeah, okay. Definitely not what more of hedonism. The song had more to do with hedonism, I think, more quite than what Sodom and Gomorrah was about, but same kind of thing. But really, I wasn't. I was more of I just was very sexually active in high school. I'll be honest with you there. Um, when I was 19, I would eventually meet the lady that would become my first wife. And I was very sexually active there. Um, we did try to go to church for a while. But, between my work that I was doing, and just other interests that we were involved with, just pulled me away. And we just didn't, the church thing just didn't work out. Although there was a song that we would use at our wedding. Um, and God will raise you up On eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. And that's out of Psalms. And that song stuck with me. So that was comforting. You know, 1997 would roll around and I would be introduced to the internet and what kind of fun things you can do with the internet, especially when you're already sexually active and addicted to pornography and craving attention and adoration. Uh, you know, and I'll touch on that a little bit, but um, it led me to a downfall. Um, things happen. Unfortunately, my wife and I we made extracurricular activities, you know, um, and reality became. I don't think I knew what reality was at that time. Um, but it was a scary place. It was a very, very dark time. There was many a time I kept wanting to jump out in front of a speeding tractor trailer on the highway sometimes. Um, because I just didn't want I was struggling through that period. It it tore my mind apart. It tore my marriage apart. Um, and we split up. Um, Christmas Eve that year, I I was at a wit's end a little bit, and I asked a friend that I knew through work, and I asked them and said, "Hey, you your church, you guys have a Christmas Eve service, right?" They're like, "Yeah." Like, what times? 7 and 11. Which one are you going to? 7. I'll see you there. Oh, okay. So we had that. Um, Beautiful service, wonderful service. It was wonderful to hear the the Christmas carols, the Christian Christmas carols, instead of hearing all the Santa Claus and all the other garbage. Um, it was wonderful to hear those. You know, my work that I was doing killed me to a lot of the um, holidays. So Christmas and Easter, um, a lot of those holidays really had no meaning to me anymore. I loved them for what they were and what they were based from, but as a selling to retailers, I looked at that stuff for so long and I just couldn't stand it. I got so tired of how holidays had been commercialized. So that night after the service, I went home and I was going to usually watch what is a traditional Christmas Eve movie for me, which was a version of the Christmas Carol called Scrooge with Albert Finney. It was a musical. However, my ex took a bunch of stuff uh, under my nose sometimes, and unfortunately, um, that was one of the videos that got taken, which neither here nor there. Um, so I had to settle for another movie, It's a Wonderful Life. I would watch It's a Wonderful Life, and I realized by the next morning I had stopped the movie because I was getting kind of tired. And I went to bed, and I woke up really super early in the morning, and I went downstairs to finish the movie. And when you watch this stuff where George Bailey had wished his life away, and he could see what life was like without him. By the end of the movie, I was in tears because I realized, okay, God, you put me here for a reason. So what is that reason? Whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, you put me here for a reason. So I realized, okay, I need to understand what God's all about. So I called the church that I went to and I asked them, hey, I'm interested in getting involved in some Bible studies. or something like that. And they recommended a men's group. So um, I did that. I went to this men's group, and I show up at the church, and I see all these cars there, and I'm like, um, I didn't know this men's group was going to be this popular. Um, and so I just kind of hung around for a while, and then somebody saw me and asked asked me what, could they help me, and I said, yeah, I'm looking for this men's group. Oh yeah, come on down. Okay. And there was this group of, half a dozen guys or so. And I asked them, I said, well, what are all these cars doing? It's like, oh yeah, we have AA meetings down in our basement. Said, oh, okay, that makes sense now. So everybody was there for AA. But so I got to go, and I got to take part in my first real adult Bible study. And I remember it was about David and Goliath, and reading through the stories and some of the questions that was posed in this study that they did. A lot of it was made me look at my life as Goliath, and I was David trying to take on my problems, and and maybe and arming myself with the Word of God that I could help overcome my problems. So it was like the Bible finally came alive to me. My music taste started to change. Um, my movie tastes obviously were changing. There was a lot of sin that I still struggled with, and there was a lot of things regarding what my sin did to others that I struggled with. And even to this day, I still really struggle with quite a bit. Um, my ex and I eventually divorced. There was definitely no going back for her. Um, so, but in those early days of just going back to church and um, just understanding what it is to be a godly man, um, I listened to it. Someone gave me a sermon series, and it dealt with eagles. And of course, I go back to that song on, and God will raise you up on eagle's wings. And granted, it was a Joyce Myers series, but I didn't know who she was. But something within that series resonated within me, and I liked it for what it was. Um, I remember going to church a lot, whether it was a Sunday night study, Sunday morning, Wednesday evening, Monday night at men's group, whatever I could get my hands on, I was trying to go. One of my friends, he liked to go see a lot of different speakers around town, and we'd go see those. So I was thirsty. I was just trying to understand and find out what I could find out. Um, so the divorce would eventually become final. By this point, I started talking to and chatting with my now wife, Sabrina. We've now been married 21 years next week. Um, and, you know, I mean, I still made stupid mistakes. There was a lot of dumb things I did, even in that time period. Uh, the move we made from Maryland to here uh, was a difficult one for me. And a lot of the demons that I had really crept up on me and really ate me alive. And boy, my sin was, and I was involved in a community men's group at the time. I started going to, it met on Monday nights down at uh, we had at another part of the building at church we started going to. And I had that. And yet I'm still doing stupid, dumb stuff. It's like my sin was so great. I couldn't fight it off. Um, Two things I've come to learn about me. Um, I say I was addicted to sex and pornography, but I think I was also addicted to attention and adoration. and they have very subtle ways of hiding themselves. The adoration part came with the porn part. Um, when you have that sex addiction, the pornography addiction, you can really envelop yourself into a awful world where you just think, I wish I could be adored by many a woman, you know. Um, and that's really what led to my ex and I splitting up. Um, as far as attention goes, um, we all crave it in some way, shape, or form. We all crave it. Some of us want to be famous, well known. Sometimes we just long for the attention of our spouse or a friend, or a work related issue if we're trying to get up in the corporate world. Sometimes it's doing talks like this. Hmm. Because you're trying to find somebody that will understand you, and you're always, I'm always longing to be understood because I feel like I've been misunderstood. So, um, so that's how I look at attention and adoration. Um, Attention also can even be showcasing your talents at church. I was the resident rock star for the kids ministry. Um, I didn't just stand there and play guitar. I was if I banged my head, I was getting to it, and I was probably more of a distraction more than I was anything else. But I hope in whatever songs we led and whatever songs we played, that I hope that that verse in Isaiah, so shall my word be that goes out of from my mouth, that it shall not return to me empty, but it shall accomplish that which I purpose, and shall succeed in the thing for which I sent it. I certainly hope and pray that whatever word that we gave those kids, they were able to walk away with something and know that they had the word taught to them, in maybe a little bit of a distracting way, but at least we gave them something. We planted seeds. So that's basically my walk with God, my walk in faith in a nutshell. Um, I've always heard there's an adage that it's 18 inches between heaven and hell. From 18 inches from your brain to your heart. You can know all of it. But if it's not in here, what good does it really do sometimes? I still struggle. I still struggle with a lot of things. Um, I I'm going through a book now on anger, patience, and peace. Just a 50-day devotional. And I'm 5 days into it, and man, I'm just seeing so much about myself already. I'm very grateful for this book, and I look forward to finishing this. Um, I still struggle with the shame of what I did in my life. Um, I have an incident in my life where uh, it's not quite like Amon, but it's darn close to it. And I was just an early teenager when it happened. Um, I'm not going to go into specifics, but I struggle with knowing I did that to somebody, and um, just what their life has become, where their life has been, um, and how they've had to deal with it. I struggle with what happened in my first marriage. I'll be honest with that. I didn't like how it ended. I didn't like where it left people, the consequences of my sin, and everything that I was thinking was perfect and great. Yeah, it didn't work out that good, did it? But at the same time, I have a godly wife in Sabrina. And through all of this stuff, She's been there for me. I can't complain about that. So I long for the day when I can be at Jesus' feet, giving him thanks for coming into my life at a time that I knew I needed him. I'm going to end with this commentary on the Isaiah 55, 10 and 11. That whatever is his design in giving the gospel, it shall be accomplished. It is never spoken in vain. It never fails to produce the effect which he intends. The gospel is no more preached in vain than the rain falls in vain. And though that often falls on barren rocks or on arid sands, on extended plains where no vegetation is produced, or in the wilderness where no man is, and seems to our eyes in vain, yet it is not so. God has a design in each drop that falls on sands or rocks, as real as in the copious shower that falls on fertile fields. And so the gospel often falls on the hard and barren hearts of men. John 16:33 says, in this life you will have trial and tribulations, but take heart. I have already overcome the world. And that's what I rest on. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. I hope this blesses you. Thank you.